The first place I left Asia to, and then more as an adult, I got a job in Germany, Berlin, in Germany. I moved there as an immigrant, but I didn't know German, so a lot of the friends that I made were English-speaking expats from other developed countries. There's a very subtle difference, between an immigrant and an expat. The easy way to say it is that immigrants are brown and black and expats are white, but that's too simple. It's too simple. It really is. Ever met a Polish person? They get sad too. You need to ask someone why they moved to a place to really know. An immigrant will say something like, I moved here because I got a job, or I was trying to get out of a bad situation back home, and I just wanted an easier life for myself, or an easier life for my family. And an expat will say some shit like, I just heard the vibe was really chill. Some nonsense like that with a big smile on their face. Now I've caught wind, though, that immigrants become somewhat of a trendy word that rich white people in developed countries want to take from themselves because they can't let us have anything, apparently. No, really, I've met people from the US and Australia that have moved to the UK and like to call themselves immigrants. And that's fine, they're not wrong, they're within their rights to do so. But I feel like that's the same as if Elon Musk, a white guy from South Africa, moved to America like he did and started calling himself African American. It's technically correct. But it just don't feel right, do it? Now you can tell talking to people. I remember soon after I moved to Berlin, I was out just trying to make friends. I didn't know a single person in this goddamn country. I met this guy he was from Sweden. And we got to talking, and he was like, yeah, Berlin is really nice, so vibrant, so multicultural. It's another thing about expats, they like to have black and brown people in the background, but not be friends with any. We're like houseplants, we add to the atmosphere, It's so vibrant, so multicultural. That's what that means. But the water is very hard in Berlin. And I just moved from Sri Lanka, all right? This was the first time in my life I had heard of the concept of hard water. I thought the categories were drinkable and not drinkable. I just met the guy, I was trying to make a new friend, so I just went along with it. I was like, yeah, man, I get it. Oh, I can relate. The water is very heavy back home, too, because we got rocks in it, same but different. It was such a party city, Berlin. It took a long time for me to get used to it. These people treat partying like it's a full-time job. I swear I had a day off work on a Wednesday, and I messaged a friend like, hey man, you want to get lunch or something? And he replied, nah, sorry bro, I have an orgy to be at. You know how it is. And I can't say I do. First of all, terrible at multitasking, but mostly just something about the idea of being me, alone, in a room full of Europeans holding whips and chains. Just historically speaking, I did not feel like it was the best life decision. But he was very nice. He tried to convince me to come along anyway. He was like, come on, man, it's on a boat. That's even worse. Wow. That is probably how they got them the first time. Right? So I went. It's very interesting. It's not like you just show up and people are just having sex as soon as you get there. I remember I went into a dark basement type room, something like this. There were just Germans marching in unison to techno music around me. This was supposed to be a good time, apparently. I just went along with it. But the only problem was that I just hate this music so much. Its lack of rhythm offends me on a cultural level. Electronic music is nice when you're on drugs. But also, everything is nice when you're on drugs. That's what drugs are for. But then I looked around and I realized what had really happened here, why Germany loved electronic music so much, and I was impressed. I realized that Germany heard that the rest of the world thinks that white people don't know how to dance. So they decided to make their favorite kind of music something you don't need to dance to, right? This is genius. This is what Europe has done for centuries. Whenever they're losing, they don't get better. They just move the goalposts. Electronic music is just the Winter Olympics of music. That's what it is. They thought they were good at sports, and then they started letting black people compete, and we're like, nah, we need snow immediately. We need to hit the slopes right away. It's a real fun place to live, though. It's a very easy country to live in. By far, the most difficult part about living in Germany were the Germans. They are really the worst. They could all just leave. No, they were just very rude, and it's something I'm not used to. You know? But I came to respect it after a while. I came to respect it because I know now that rude people are the sign of a strong economy. That's their way of telling the rest of the world that they don't need you. I say Sri Lanka, for example. I meet people that visit Sri Lanka and come back all the time, and they'll tell me how beautiful. They'll say it was so beautiful, such a beautiful place. But more than anything else, the people were so lovely. They're the nicest, kindest, most hospitable people I've met in my entire life. And I'm just thinking, yeah, that's because they need your tourist money, you idiot. Our kindness is a hustle, all right? That's what it is. If we were half as nice to each other as we are to tourists, I would still be at home. We have all sorts of hilarious cottage industries around the island. We'll do anything for a buck. My favorite is we have a very funny industry of straight male prostitutes in the southern part of the island. They're called beach boys. You'll find them in the south along the beach. First, you have to look for like an older European divorcee. You can't tell someone's a divorcee by looking at them. But you can, though, you know? Like, there's lots of linen and flowy scarves, that's the vibe. The guys are usually sort of very surfer-looking guys, and they'll just usually partner up with them. Sometimes they'll even go home and go home back to Europe with them and get married. It's hilarious. It's a great scam. And the guys are usually very surfer-looking guys, you know, like darker skin, longer hair, and I'm just saying, if this comedy shit don't work out, I got options, all right? I've been a whore for free for most of my life. I might as well go pro. I feel like the same thing doesn't quite happen here, though. Like, you don't get that much sex tourism in the UK. You don't get women from other parts of the world flying into the UK and going to a Wetherspoons in Bolton. Cruising for a builder named Raj. It just doesn't work out. I started doing comedy there, and that was really nice. You know, this is really the first thing I've done in my life that I feel like is for me. The only problem was, it was exhausting. I still work a full-time job. I was at the time, and I work all day and do this at night. I was just, you know, like, this sitting down thing is not a part of the act. I'm just tired. You know how exhausting it is being this exceptional, all right? I'm 27 years old. You look in my eyes, that's a 72-year-old man looking back at you. But a lot of the people I started comedy with, I just noticed that they had a lot more free time. They were a lot more chill. A lot of them didn't work jobs even. I wondered how that was working. And they just said, like, no, you know, we if you're European or from other countries, you can just claim unemployment. And you get a check every month, and that's all right. And I was a very jealous, resentful young man at the time. I just meant that I had to work so hard my whole life to have access to this life, and these people got it just by default. So much so that I looked it up, and apparently Berlin had a 10% unemployment rate. 10%, that's 3 times Germany's national average. And then I was wondering, how is this even economically possible? Like, who's supporting all of these people, some of which are choosing not to support themselves? And then I remembered that 60% of my salary that wasn't actually my salary. I was like, oh shit, am I supporting these European kids' dreams? Is this a reverse Angelina Jolie situation? What is happening? You know, I understand that high taxes are a big part of the reason that life in a country like that is so nice, but a warning would have been cool. You know? I remember the day I got my first paycheck there. I read the first line with the total amount, and that was more money than I had seen in my entire life before that point in one place. And then I read the second line about how much they took away, and realized that in one day I had more money taken away from me than I'd ever seen in my entire life before that point. It was very conflicting. I didn't know whether to be happy or sad. I felt like I'd been blindfolded and given the greatest blowjob of my life, and later found out it was by a raccoon. I didn't even... for my conscience, I need y'all to know that that joke doesn't make sense. It only works because raccoons are inherently humorous creatures. Yeah. I was dating a lot when I was there. German girls were far more practical than I expected. This one girl, we got together towards the beginning of winter, and she broke up with me towards the beginning of summer. It turns out she was just in it for the body heat. That's not even the worst one. This other girl, she was real smart. She was getting doing her PhD at the time, writing her thesis. I used to like her a lot. She used to ask very interesting, insightful questions about Sri Lanka, about my culture, about where I'm from. It made me feel very special until I found out she was writing her thesis in South Asian studies. And I found it. I found it, and I read it, and everything I said was referenced to native number 4. How many? How many innocent ethnic men had this I felt bad for how good my life was there, you know, because you never quite completely forget where you came from. And this whole time that I'm living away from home, I'm aware of how hard it is for people back home. And I'm just out here in Europe doing comedy and going to orgies and shit. I felt like a selfish person. I really think I have, you know, the UK is a very conservative country. A lot of people here are very afraid of immigrants. And speaking as an immigrant, y'all should be more afraid. Like, we're the worst. We really are. We're the most selfish people from our respective places. We're the ones that left everyone else behind on purpose. Think about what kind of a sociopath you need to be. Like, you're born in your place. It's a little rough, but it's home. You know, your friends you grew up with, your family, everyone you've ever loved is from this place. But you're like, nah, fuck all of these people. I want Amazon Prime. I'm leaving. I'm too good for this. You never quite forget completely, though. Like you, especially with Sri Lanka, you get consistent reminders that, you know, like I remember 2019, I got a call from my mother on what I thought was a random Monday. She had a very solemn tone in her voice, and she told me that there'd been a terrorist attack in Sri Lanka the day before. It's on Easter Sunday, targeting multiple churches around the country. And she said no friends and family were hurt. I put down the phone. And then I just wanted to get some basic facts on the situation. And I tried to look on news sites. I couldn't find anything. I went to the Asia-Pacific section. I couldn't find anything. And the only thing I could find, even in the vicinity of Sri Lanka, was that a new species of jellyfish-like creature called the sea squirt had recently been discovered in the Indian Ocean. And I saw this and I was reassured because at least I knew that no white people had been hurt in the attacks.